Why are thousands of doctors and scientists worldwide being censored?
Learning a lot from all these doctors, and they seem to be telling a whole heck of a lot of truth.
Dr. Carrie Madej.
Dr. Carrie Madej.
Dr. Carrie Madej.
Dr. Carrie Madej, who has been speaking out for months.
Oh, detox, detox, detox. So I love detox baths.
Who's the one doctor do I want to get on and just shut down the internet? It would have to be Dr. Carrie Madej.
Good morning, Dr. Madej. Can you summarize for us your educational and professional qualifications?
I attended osteopathic medical school in Kansas City, College of Osteopathic Medicine. Graduated there in 2001, and I ended up training in Michigan and Georgia and Florida, trained in allopathic and osteopathic institutions. I ended up getting an internal medicine residency as well as a traditional internship completed in Georgia at Mercer University as well as Columbus, Georgia. I have owned my own clinic. I've been medical director of 2 clinics. I have taught medical students in Georgia for 8 years, the Pennsylvania College of Osteopathic Medicine, the Georgia campus. And then also I've spent the last few years being a public speaker and online educator, as well as researcher, and I do telemedicine appointments as well.
The first question. The number of doctors and nurses that have lost their ability to treat people because of speaking out by simply telling the truth is disgusting. Are you still allowed to continue practicing medicine? And if so, how have you been able to survive the culling of the true medical heroes?
Well, it's been many, many years now that I have been under attack for just speaking the truth. This has been going on since before this pandemic. I felt it was so bad that at around June of 2015, I moved from this country to the Dominican Republic.
Wow.
And I don't know if you're familiar, but around that time, I lived in Georgia, I still do. There were many doctors that died around that, actually starting in that month of June of 2015, going up into the next year and a half, 2 years. Some people think up to 100 doctors were killed.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're Health Nut News. Elizabeth Aaron actually reported on those. Unfortunately, many of the individual cases have been scrubbed on the internet, but she has a documentation of them. And there are several of my colleagues that were murdered. And
wow.
Of course, they look like accidents or suicides or, like someone just in their 40s back then, natural death in their car, which we know that's not possible.
Right.
So no, this has been a mafia for a long time. I've been familiar with it. So this does not surprise me now. Speaking out like this, no, you cannot practice normally as a doctor. Absolutely not. I mean, When you speak out like this, you're going to leave the system, but the system is disgusting to me. To me, it's now a death cult. This is not following our oath. This is not about sacredness of life. This is not about doing what is right or what is true. And I can't stand for that. So I do follow, my number one priority is to answer to God above anything else or anyone else. So, when you do the right thing, you will be taken care of somehow. Maybe, you're not going to be as financially successful at all, but you have to know where are your priorities. And I know that talking to larger groups of people is better for me anyhow than just the one-on-one. I still do some telemedicine here and there, but as far as having a brick and mortar building, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of a good thing because it almost gives you more credibility in the movement because, you almost sacrifice your entire livelihood just to come out and speak the truth. So it looks amazing. And I think it could almost be a good thing. All right. So next question. When I'm looking for new information, I use many ways to search. I do a basic Google search. I also use Yandex. I also search BitChute, Rumble, Telegram, and YouTube when I'm digging deep for something. And for scientific things, I've used Google Scholar to look up peer-reviewed studies. When you research new information, what are the ways you look for information? And do you utilize any of the techniques you've learned when training to be a doctor?
You have to know that you have to be very creative with keywords and, go to PubMed and look for different keywords. And if you find a really good paper, look at their resources or their references, I should say, because things are still accessible. It's just that they're hidden. And so if you don't put the exact keyword in there, you're not going to get that one paper to come up. But if you go ahead and you use the references of one good paper that you find, that will open up doors to other places. So that's kind of my recommendation. I also keep in touch with different people, like we all do in this movement and in different countries, and then we share articles as well. So
do you think that, like Google, do you think they're actually utilizing some of the peer-reviewed study research methods to like suppress information? And what you're saying is, if you look at certain peer-reviewed studies, you look at the references, you get a whole different list that you maybe wouldn't find if you looked at if you were searching. Yeah. Okay.
100%. Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's I've never heard that before, and that's amazing advice. All right, next question is about your business meeting that you went to. You said that you were invited to a VIP business owners meeting. I'm assuming because you've owned your own medical clinic. You said this meeting was where they discussed their plans to conspire to destroy America. You clearly disagreed and voiced your thoughts and blew the whistle telling the world about the meeting. What were the qualifying factors for somebody to get an invite to that meeting? And can you elaborate on what that was like for you? What kind of things were going through your mind when you realized what was really going on?
I know that two different people had referred me. You have to be referred into the group, and then they do background check and all kinds of things before they approve you to be into the group. Now, I had no idea what this group was about. I thought it was just like a Chamber of Commerce kind of thing where, you just shake hands and, just make relationships. So when I went to this one meeting, which was probably one of the most important meetings, that was a divine appointment that I happened to go to that one meeting that obviously blew my mind away. And, exactly why I was accepted to go there, I still don't understand it completely, because I was definitely the odd fish there, and they really didn't have much medical personnel there. So it's still, I'm not sure about that, why I was invited. I don't know if they thought I would be a good conversion and a good influencer or what the deal was, but I don't have an answer for that. I just know that, perhaps that was a divine appointment so that I would know what was going on. Yeah,
that makes sense. I've been put in places that I can't explain either for amazing reasons, and great things have come about it. And no one else would probably know about that meeting if you weren't there. So was there anyone else there that also spoke out, or did most people just go along with it?
Not at all. They all were clapping and standing ovation. And then the ones that did admit that there was, it was probably not humane. They gave the excuse that you can't stop what's about to happen around the world. And if you're not on our side, you're on the other side, and you're not going to want to be on that side. If you don't join us, you will soon, because when you see what's coming.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, so next one real quick. We all know that the tap water most of us have in our cities and towns contain numerous chemicals bad for our health. And for people who don't know, you can go to ewg.org/tapwater and put in your zip code, and it'll tell you what's in your water. Joe Rogan also claims that we consume a credit card worth of plastic a week. So if our only options are tap water with the chemicals or bottled water with the plastic, how do we avoid the plastics and the chemicals?
It's imperative that you clean your own water. I'll say that again. It is imperative that you clean your own water, because the number one source of poison and toxins does come from the water. And I don't care if you have a well or if you have a deep well or how you're getting it, all the sources can be contaminated. And they predominantly, I've studied this for 10 years, arsenic is ubiquitous, and they use a Chinese formula that is arsenic-like, so that will likely not come up in any test. And there's a lot of fraud that goes on in the testing agencies anyway, and they test for minuscule amounts. So just because you send it in for a test, it means absolutely nothing. But I see every single person's health improve when they start cleaning their own water. So the very least you can do is get a Berkey filter, make sure it has, of course, it has those carbon filters, but you need an extra arsenic and fluoride filter that you put on the bottom, or distill the water. That's the very least, because that's very, very, very important. Because throughout history, how did large amounts of people get killed off? Through, water and public sanitation. And these days, it's not any different than that.
So if you distill water, I always heard that you lose certain trace minerals and it'll end up hurting you. Is that true?
I mean, the poisons are going to hurt you way more than the trace minerals.
Right.
Just eat properly, get good salt, like a Celtic salt or a Himalayan salt,
Okay.
true sea salt. Yeah, I mean, you just want to get the poisons out. I've drank distilled water for many, many, many years and never had a problem.
Awesome. That's good to hear. I think I'm going to start doing that now. It's so hard because you can't get true information from anyone out there. And it's the fact that you were, a practicing physician or a doctor. I mean, I don't know the actual terms, but it's so important. And we're glad to have you. All right. Next question was about your detox fast. I saw a video of a famous rapper whistleblower B.O.B. using pure non-GMO cranberry juice to detox Morgellons parasites. When he swished the juice in his mouth for 5 minutes and spit it out and looked underneath the microscope, he noticed black globs that weren't in the juice beforehand. Also, when he added rubbing alcohol to what he spit out, it reacted violently. Your detox bath for radiation poisoning, pesticides, heavy metals, fungus, yeast, parasites, etc. calls for baking soda 1 to 2 cups, Epsom salts 1 to 2 cups, bentonite clay 1/2 to 1 cup, and 1 cup of borax into a hot as you can tolerate it bath water. My friend Kevin Hoyt tried this and saw white worms coming out of his skin. Can you explain where you got this information and any crazy stories you've seen associated with parasites and other detoxes?
I've been recommending detox baths for at least 15 years, using them myself. And it's over the years of increased what we are putting inside the baths, determining on what's happening in society, right?
Right.
Just looking, they've used detox baths for hundreds of years, actually. So it's not been a new phenomenon. I know pediatricians in the traditional pediatric realm even suggested baths like with a little bit of brand only Clorox bleach, like just a 1/4 cup in a bathtub, even for children with really terrible skin issues. So this has been known for a while. It's not new. And if you know that we can pull things out of our skin, so these just looking at references online was very helpful to me, and trying everything out on myself. Now, the latest thing with the borax, that's actually more anecdotal, but we know that people have seen improvements with that. So I always tell people everybody's different. You have to titrate up to what you can tolerate. And we don't say anything treats anything or cures anything. These are just ways that it can improve our bodies. If we have less poison in our body, of course, our immune systems will work better.
Right. That makes sense. And I just want to clarify, people who think taking a bleach bath is crazy, bleach and chlorine are basically the same thing. So the chlorine in the pool is basically a form of bleach, right?
Exactly. So it's exactly like if you're going into the traditional pool. You're not putting that much in, you're just putting a small amount.
Right. And so you're not crazy. We're not crazy. So do you think your detox bath would pull the potential parasites you found in the vaccine out of your body?
The vaccine, okay, what they are falsely calling a vaccine is very complicated. It is many different things inside there. There's nothing that I know that can totally cure you from everything, okay?
Right.
However, this is a cumulative effect, and the body has an amazing ability to heal itself if given the opportunity. So if you just stop, you do not do anymore, then you also, to me, this is a spiritual battle. You pray and you ask God for help. That is very important. And you do use many different ways of detoxing. I've seen people get better, yes. As far as what's inside the shot, there's a lot of superconducting material, which is a liquefied computing material. So, that's going to take something else. These things have programs, so you have to wipe the program, right?
But if they're biological organisms, then maybe anti-parasitic would harm them or something. Who knows? It's because it's cutting edge technology. It's hard to tell. I understand that.
Yeah, it's because this is very sloppy science. A lot of us have seen different things in different batches. It's not uniform, so this becomes a problem. How do we understand how to treat something if we're not told what's really inside of it?
Right.
But I think all these things are overwhelming. There's a purpose in this for humanity because we think we can do it all on our own. I think we've come to the point that we have to realize we can't do this on our own. We don't have one invention. We don't have a person that's going to get elected. That's going to get us out of this.
Right.
And so I really look at the big picture, and I see that this is humanity's lesson in that, we can't do this alone. We need to call on a supernatural intervention. We need God.
Yep. And I feel like people like me and you were put here to usher this in. The next question. Dr. Judy Mikovits has told everybody that the pharmaceutical suramin was the antidote for the vaccine. Suramin is derived from trypan blue dye. Trypan blue dye is derived from toluene. Toluene is derived from the pine tree, which has led a lot of doctors to tell us to use the natural version of suramin, pine needle tea, which has been known to be an ancient version of ivermectin. I've done research into studies on the anti-parasitic, anti-spike protein, anti-RNA binding behavior of the eastern white pine, inshikimic acid, and other compounds found in the eastern white pine. Based on the qualities that I highlighted above and your research into the COVID-19 vaccines, do you think this is a good natural way to negate damages?
Yeah, I think pine needle tea is awesome. I researched it many years ago, but not for this reason. I knew that the bigger plan was to prevent us from getting any supplements, any vitamins or minerals, even prescribed. It's called the Codex Alimentarius. So I started to look at what was the most important nutrient that we needed as humans, and it's vitamin C. We don't produce in our bodies naturally. Other animals do. We do not. So I found out that the pine needles had the highest concentration of vitamin C of just about any plant in North America, which is awesome to know.
Wow.
And so it's giving you a large dose of vitamin C. And so this is why I knew about this. And I think this is fantastic. Vitamin C can cure many things in higher and higher doses. So I think that we need to start looking at nature around us. The answers are all around us, and knowing that our bodies do have an ability to heal themselves. We forgot this, and we need to remember this, and it's in the scripture as well.
Yeah, and I just want to say, if somebody wants to make pine needle tea, make sure it's the eastern white pine. The eastern white pine, you'll see there's little clusters of needles. There'll be 5 needles per cluster. That's how you know it's the eastern white pine. And when you're making something to drink, don't use water because it doesn't have a lot of storing compounds. You want to use something like MCT coconut oil because that has a lot of lipids to store the compounds that you extract from the pine needle tea, and it'll last longer than a week. So look into it using those aspects is my suggestion. Do you agree with that?
I just tell people we have a lot of pine trees around here, so I just tell them to make it fresh daily for what they're going to drink.
Right.
Let it seep, at least 30 minutes, add some honey and lemon to it. But use clean water when you do that. So I think it's fine to do that as well if you make it fresh that day to drink.
Cool. All right. So the next question is about the Hippocratic Oath. I was actually formulating a different question and ran into this. So I'm told that all doctors have to take this specific oath that makes them promise not to hurt anybody and always heal people to the best of their ability. When I looked the Hippocratic Oath up on Wikipedia, it shows that doctors have been swearing on different gods and goddesses, which kind of threw me off. My followers said that this was proof that doctors were satanic. You've stated you walk with God, so this question is more for your colleagues. Is this the same oath you took? What does it mean to you, and how does it relate to your belief in God?
So I believe every medical school has their own oath, right?
Okay.
And all I can tell you is I don't know what they say now, but I'm an osteopath, so we took an osteopathic oath that did not pray to a god. And so we were told it was based kind of on a Hippocratic oath, which is first do no harm, but it was worded in our osteopathic oath. Okay, so that's different. But the whole premise is that knowing that when you're a doctor, you are never supposed to use your knowledge or skills to kill somebody ever, no
Right.
matter what. And so you were supposed to automatically lose your license if you do that. And you're also supposed to never do something because you honor and have a sacredness of life. This is back when I was in school, every school was like this, that you did not ever risk a patient's life just haphazardly. You had to see that there's more benefits than risks. So it was about honoring every single life and protecting it in that manner and not abusing your knowledge or your skill sets in essence. So everybody took some sort of an oath like that.
Well, I just, when I was reading it, I felt like I got the wrong one, or they're lying to me, because I'm like, what am I reading? You know what I'm talking about? The goddess is like, I swear on this god, this god, this god.
Well, no, I've never seen anyone.
You gotta look that up.
Well, the problem is looking online now. I mean, who knows? But
Right.
I just know what the oath that I took was an osteopathic oath. So
Okay.
and nothing like that. And I'm pretty sure others, even, the allopathic schools, they had their own wording. And to my knowledge, none of them said that. I mean, maybe there were some, but I don't think so.
They were pulling it from some sort of piece of scripture that they had in the Vatican somehow. I don't know. They're probably doing too much like Wikipedia sometimes does. Anyways, that covers that. All right, so the next question. I grew up Catholic, being baptized and going through my first communion. I have since came to the realization how tainted everything in the world has become, including ancient texts. I believe the English language was created as a prison via laws and as a broken cipher when translating ancient texts, all on purpose. Religion also says that gaining certain knowledge is satanic because Satan seeks to give us the apple of knowledge by teaching us forbidden things. This to me feels like a ceiling, and I feel that it limits society's ability to evolve to the next stage and feels like a cult-style trap to lock you into limiting beliefs. Well, at the same time, knowledge when we aren't ready or given in the wrong way can create demonic people like Freemasons. This being said, I believe we are all vibrations, and we're also made in God's image with certain abilities we lost access to. I think he gave us tools to maintain the dominion he gave us to watch over this realm that we have lost. So I both believe in Jesus existing and some of the New Age beliefs about how we can utilize this dimension using our imagination as a steering wheel. You have spoken about the New Age scientific style of how we are wired and what we can do. You have also mentioned God and doing things for the love of mankind. Can you just clarify how you think things work when combining religious beliefs with the new science of how we can unlock ourselves? Also, do you think the history of Jesus is accurate?
Okay,
it's a big one.
People need to realize that New Age is just that new. Okay. And so they're taking old ideas or knowledge and then tweaking it, or it's being a little bit, you could get 95% truth and that 5% that's a lie will do you in, right?
Right.
It's kind of, that's what it's doing. Because for instance, if I said the word electricity, or our bodies have electricity, or our bodies have frequency or energy, which is a absolute 100% fact.
Yep.
Okay. Absolutely. So many Christians would attack me, calling me New Age. I'm definitely not New Age. Absolutely not. If anyone knows me or reads anything or sees anything I say, I'm not. I'm going by proof, and it's going along with scripture as well. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is not New Age. Now, people can take a certain bit of knowledge. That's what Satan does, right? Because he can't create anything, but he can invert it or twist it around or blasphemy it, right? Yep. So that's a sign of a lower entity doing that. So this is where we have to really pray and use discernment, and go back it up with the scripture as well. But if you're going to get an EKG or an EEG of your brain, then you're admitting that you have electricity in your brain, because that's what it's doing. It's measuring the electricity. Okay, mm-hmm. It's your conduction. If you've had static electricity, you just formed electricity. You did it. Your body did it. Mm-hmm. We can measure the electricity coming out, the electromagnetic energy coming off from a body. Of course, the nerve impulses need electricity. I mean, this is how our body works. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how it happens. Okay, so understanding that, then you can understand how we have a potential to heal instead of these chemicals and this sorcery, right? Right. So this goes along with scripture, because prayer works, and prayer works from a distance. Then we're going into quantum physics, instantaneous, right? And being connected. We know that we're connected. Thoughts are physical things too. They actually can map thoughts out in the brain. It's pretty amazing, right? And we know that a thought can, and this is well accepted in all secular science as well, a thought can create a physical condition, and it can cure, called the placebo effect. So how we think will affect our body. And so this goes along with scripture and prayer, and knowing that just touching or laying on of hands, the person can feel better. Okay, that's an energy exchange. And then Dr. Emoto, E-M-O-T-O, his work showing the change of water crystals. They can change their shape depending on how you say, and with an intention, the word. In the beginning, there was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word is God. So this is going along with scripture, and God breathed us into life. He spoke words, and life was created. So this is no different than the scripture. So, your words are important, intention. Excuse me. You can do seedling experiments about saying bad things to one group of seedlings with all your intention, the middle group, nothing. And then the other group, you will say the most beautiful words with all your heart. And after a month, I guarantee you'll see a difference. Okay. The power of us and the word, right? Okay. So these are all important things to know, and that people can be spontaneously healed, spontaneous remissions in medicine that they try to hide. We have miracles that happen all the time, but they deny and ignore them because this doesn't go along with the narrative of traditional medicine. So this is something that we don't even know how to explain, in our science terms. This is in the spiritual realm. We need to start realizing all these things because we're getting to the end of what traditional medicine can do for us. And then also knowing there's a whole new field that we can utilize some machines in a good way with frequencies or lasers or light, etc., that we do have science to back that up for a long time now. We've just been suppressed and oppressed where we cannot use it. But, if you feel good with music, a certain beautiful music, and then you feel bad when you hear a terrible kind of jarring music, how it affects your body, it's the same thing. We have lasers right now that can disintegrate a solitary tumor in 8 minutes without hurting your body. And they've mapped out every tumor with the frequency that it's associated with and its infection that's associated with. But of course, the world does not want that to come out because then they're not going to make money on those people. And the people will find out that, wow, wait a minute, frequency works. That means that we're frequency too. That opens up a whole new world of how we can heal. So what I'm trying to say is the science absolutely backs it up. The scripture also backs it up. How you use it and what you do with it determines if it's good or bad, right?
Yep.
And if you're trying to call on a demon, you're trying to call on this God with a little g, not good, right? Or if you think you're doing it totally by yourself, not good, because you have to understand that's body, mind, and spirit. And where does the spirit come from? Our all-powerful creator. So it's all how you handle it, and it's not new age at all.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. And if people want to look up, there's a TED Talk on YouTube of this music professor who discovered he could cure cancer or destroy cancer cells with specific frequencies with a plasma antenna. It's super short. It's easy to understand. It's a great TED Talk, and it backs up everything you say. And I think there's good and bad in every organization, whether it's the medical or if it's the government. There has to be good and bad in everything. Just like, with the New Age movements, some stuff could lead you in the wrong direction. Like if you're using a pentagram with stones, you may go in the wrong direction if you're doing spells. But if you're trying to heal people just using quartz to protect yourself, I think that would be a different route to go that is not demonic necessarily. And the last thing I'll say about that is I believe our imagination is our controller to this dimension. It's always made the most sense to me, and they try to destroy it because when you're a kid, your imagination's huge and it slowly dissipates. So I think that's part of our power. And last thing with that, what do you think a good rule of thumb is for navigating the next level, whether it's the 5D or religious beliefs versus the New Age?
I didn't answer your other question about Jesus Christ or Yeshua HaMashiach. Absolutely, 100%. The scripture is true. That's the only truth we have in this world, and that he is the only begotten Son of God. We actually, we have a lot of archaeological studies now that are coming forward showing how just about every story of the book can be proven with data, right? With facts, which is pretty amazing. So I believe that he is our Savior, that our debts are wiped clean through him. And that he came first to settle that debt of sin for us to be saved, and he's coming again. And this time it is to bring heaven to earth and to wipe out the demonic entities. I truly believe that with my entire heart and soul and being.
Good. Yeah. Let's hope it better. It's going to happen soon. I mean, I think it's happening right now. So the next question, months ago, it was reported that you had died. People were sharing this to me. I didn't believe it. I never shared it. And they said that you died and passed away in a plane crash. I'm like, no. And I was shocked and very upset and didn't want to believe it. Then it turned out that you survived, and thank God, here you are. Do you think that someone tried to kill you, either three-dimensionally or maybe a spiritual attack, or was it just a fluke incident?
That day was very strange, and many things went wrong. So the odds of all these wrong things happening at the same time that's pretty strange. The investigation will take 2 years already, though. it's obvious that the truth won't come out. I still have not been interviewed, and I'm the only one that knows what happened because I never lost consciousness.
Wow.
But that's the way that is. Now, all I can tell you is I do feel that there was a demonic, attack. I felt that. But I also knew, because I was praying the whole time, that, I could see God's hands on the plane and wings covering the sides. And he had warned me 25 years ago that I would not die in a plane crash. So that was a message he gave me 25 years ago. So that helped me a lot through the plane to remember those words. But then I realized he told me, he didn't tell me that I wouldn't be in a crash. So I'm like, oh, so that means I'm still going to crash. It's going to really hurt. But I knew he was there the whole time. But I just felt like there was definitely a demonic attack there. So that's my interpretation.
That's so interesting to be conscious and terrifying to go through that. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're having this discussion. All right, next question. For my research, I've seen that they have done many studies in the past proving that the flu is not contagious. They've injected mucus of somebody with the flu into somebody healthy, and they still didn't get the flu. I've come to focus on the term theory and germ theory because it seems that the microbes show up after the disease instead of causing the disease like the theory suggests, which led me to focus on the term practice in doctors' practice, which would imply that all doctors are still practicing, and I've never seen someone that has mastered medicine besides Aleister Crowley claiming he mastered alchemy. Being a doctor, what are your thoughts on germ theory and the accuracy of what they are teaching doctors in school?
Yes, practice is an accurate description, and there's the art of medicine. That's why a computer can never replace a good doctor, because that means you're using your brain, critical thinking, and you're looking at that individual patient, and you're using all your senses. I mean, there's an art. It's a true art. That's a good doctor. Well, in osteopathic school, our tenets is that the body has the innate capacity to heal itself of anything. So we believe in that. And so that's what they used to teach, at least. And so that training was that the body has the ability to heal itself of anything. That means there's something blocking it. And so our job was to be the teacher or the detective and find out what is blocking it and educate the patient. I still feel that to be true. So to me, over the times, I found that any infection you didn't have to be really worried about. It was just your immune system being strong, which is the terrain. And to me, like whenever there was an infection, because infections are real, they happen. I wanted to know why it happened so that it didn't happen again in that person, to figure out what caused the weakness in the body to allow something to grow. So that's how I see that, and I believe that 100% still. I believe in the beautiful nature of our body. We are made wonderfully and fearfully. We have absolutely no idea how beautifully we're made. The problem is we've been inundated with poisons and toxins since before we were born. And so if we can just mitigate or, fix even a couple of those, our body improves. So if we understood that we are made amazingly, perfectly well through his image, and you have that belief, then understand what is making us sick. It's being induced upon us purposefully. And then we finally just say no collectively. We do not comply. Things would change really fast. Just with that alone, the mindset is powerful. And the power of the people coming together in unity, even a small percentage, is earth-shattering. It has ripple effects, and it is like the wizard behind the curtain. And they are not that powerful when we finally say no and stand together. That actually almost instantaneously changes things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Just to clarify, I personally think that COVID doesn't exist in the context they provide. I think the only way to get COVID-19 is to have the virus injected into you. I believe that the flu, they replaced the flu with COVID because we saw the change in yearly deaths when COVID first started. And I believe the flu is probably a combination of chemtrails, ingredients in the food, tap water, and radiation poisoning. Do you think that there could be any truth to that, or is that completely out in left field?
Yes, I agree with you. I think they were really creative with some kind of maybe a combination of poison. Who knows how, more of a contact poison. And the people that have a more weakened immune system are the ones that would be really ill from that. but it did appear to be some kind of poison toxin, the way the people's bodies reacted. And I agree with you. I don't believe there was any real virus that went out. We're dealing with more of just something called a bioweapon. So if you strengthen your own immune system, you don't need to be afraid of these things.
Yeah, and I've noticed that I think they're changing ingredients in food because food is making me feel different stuff. Because I've eaten the same stuff forever. I actually always ate Domino's. And they changed. I know. I can't believe I'm still alive. But they changed the ingredients, and I got really sick once, and I haven't ate it since. And other food, they're changing the ingredients. And I've also grown gardens, and there's this new disease on my plants that started last year where I forgot what it's called, but there's these little spots that keep showing up on the plants, and it's pretty contagious. And it ends up just killing all the fan leaves on all plants. And it's pretty bad. Female whistleblower, and I'm pretty sure she said that they released this disease for the plants, and they probably can just do it in the chemtrail style. So I don't know.
So what we're experiencing right now, the most important thing that we all know is that there's a master blueprint, and it's called the Codex Alimentarius. And there was a full implementation of this plan for 10 years. And I believe their full implementation officially started December 2019. And that's why they have their deadline of integrating everybody in 2030. And the World Health Organization is tied with them and the United Nations and the World Economic Forum. And so we're part of that as well. And so this is a one world everything. They want everything genetically modified. They want all the vitamins and minerals are reclassified as poisons and toxins. Actually, pharmaceutical drugs are more safe than a vitamin and mineral, according to this. Is just unbelievable. And the intent is obvious for depopulation, because the World Health Organization was asked, after the full implementation of this program, in 10 years, how many deaths can we expect? And they came back and said 3 billion. 3 billion because of A, malnutrition from lack of nutrients in the food, B, starvation of just not having food for a segment of the world. And then the last one was from the introduction of infections. One of the infections that stood out to me was the name mycoplasma pneumonia, which has been declassified as a bioweapon. So this is an admission of actually using bioweapons. So again, attacking the food supply, introducing more poisons and toxins into the environment. They actually, there are, I think, 10 or 12, the most dangerous poisons in the world that the whole trade agreement agreed we would never use. Well, they went ahead and reapproved 9 of them back into the food supply.
And of course, no one saw that.
So this is the master blueprint. This is what everybody should know what's going on. This is what we should be fighting to stop from happening in our country. Every country should be up against this and tell them no, and just voice our opinion, which is powerful, you guys. It really does work. But this is what's happening because they're trying to make sure that we don't have any vitamins or minerals. Everything that I've seen in a compounding pharmacy, the quality and the stature of it has gone down, down, down. I was told this was going to happen. Everything you're buying across the counter, it's not what you think it is. It's probably a minuscule amount. The food supply, yes. So this is where, we have to realize we need God. We need to pray, repent, and ask for help. We need to start looking more at local growers. We need to know that we need to start bringing its body, mind, and spirit, again, praying over things. Another interesting thing, though, on a side, that Russia's been doing a lot of amazing studies on frequency. And so they're taking the structure, like the Pyramid of Giza, which is about 52.2 degree angle. They have a Russian pyramid, which is a 73 degree angle, I believe. So they're making these pyramids just out of like fiberglass or something, nothing good, nothing expensive. So that doesn't matter about the material, it's about the exact dimensions. They put this pyramid, some of them are pretty tall, out into a crop. And very shortly, the crop's production will increase by 400% productivity. Even extinct plants will start coming up, because what it's doing is it's harnessing the natural energy of the earth, which Nikola Tesla's told us about forever. We've known this, and it makes a very healthy toroidal field, which puts a perimeter around. So these toroidal fields, they do exist naturally in nature. It's just that the powers that be have ruined these natural energy fields with 5G and, all kinds of things like that. So we don't really experience them much, but if we have them in nature, we would feel better. So people being around them, we're healthier, immune systems go up, people heal faster. Also more water runs more plentiful under the ground there. Oil is thinner, runs more plentiful. What I really was interested in looking at this research was because they said that the seeds that they put inside the pyramid or right around it, if they're genetically modified, they were seeing that over time, these seeds were going back to their original wild type genome, meaning you can't beat life, you can't trick life, you can't trick God, and that the genome was going back to its original genome. So it's just an example of showing that how amazing God made everything, and that life has knowledge. Life has memory, and so there's nothing that can't be undone, but it has to be through God. You can't just say, I'm going to do this invention and I'm fine without God. Everything, we need God. I promise you. If we leave God out of this, no way can we survive this. It's imperative that we call on our Creator.
And I always use the metaphor of, they pave roads and eventually the grass always cracks that pavement and grows through. So you really can't stop nature. And just to back up your pyramid, Russian pyramid story, if you go to YouTube, there's people who have done experiments with the pyramids, and they make them out of PVC sometimes too. So you can do them at your house, and you can do the experiments at your house. It's completely doable. It's not crazy. And the Russians, they know what they're talking about. They were some of the first people to create the EMF weapons to use against America back in the 1950s. It was I forgot what it was called. It was the something syndrome.
Sound Project Woodpecker, but we did the same thing back to them. So sending these signals at really low frequencies where you just really can't hear it, but it would affect a whole nation of people. So we were doing this war against each other. But look up Project Woodpecker. With
the LIDA machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've gone deep. And it brings me to the next question. I've written a paper citing 21 peer-reviewed studies, including studies from NASA, CIA, and other government entities, proving that EMF electromagnetic frequencies, more specifically non-ionizing radiation, is causing insane amounts of damage. This would imply that these government entities are committing treason by allowing the continued rollout of these technologies while they know about the damages it's doing to us.
Of course they do.
The EMF spectrum ranging from 0 hertz, being static, 300 hertz being power lines, which is extremely low frequency, ELF, to 100 kilohertz, which is intermediate frequency, that's IF, being welding devices, and then the gigahertz range frequency, which is RF, radio frequency, which is cell phones, 5G, Wi-Fi, 4G, 2G, eventually ending in ionizing radiation, being a nuclear bomb with different biological effects at each part of the spectrum. Knowing that Wi-Fi and nukes both have radiation on the same scale, but different spectrum, and that the high-powered lasers that the Navy uses to blow holes in ships is a form of radiation, RF radiation, the same radiation as Wi-Fi, were two of the most alarming things that I learned. Before the rollout of Wi-Fi in 1999, insomnia and anxiety barely existed, let alone the rest of side effects it causes. The RF radiation has been proven to burn the glucose out of the brain, as well as cause oxygen-eating free radicals known as ROS free radicals to form throughout your body, depriving people of oxygen, making them tired and sometimes killing them. I've also read that the calcium channels your neurotransmitters use to transmit messages in the brain becomes overactive when constantly defending against these microwaves. It's my theory that this could cause schizophrenia from too many messages, brain fog from not enough messages, confusion from messages being sent inaccurately. Do you agree that it would be possible that an overactive calcium channels could cause those symptoms? And do you have any other information or studies to add that we can all research on EMF radiation?
There's a ton of research. There's a really good graph that I like using that the U.S. Navy declassified information in 1972 about the symptoms you can experience of having too much of this kind of frequency. So that's back in 1972. But if you look at it, it'll show you that it'll read off even the exact symptoms of what COVID syndrome is, even the severe form.
Mm-hmm.
So it can cause infertility, menstrual disorders, pulling it right now, of course, difficulty concentrating, depression, anxiety, memory loss, palpitations, arrhythmia, chest pain, reproductive issues, stiff muscles and joints, pressure behind the eyes, cataracts, dry, all these things. So it is well documented. It's nothing that's not documented. So it's known. I believe this is one of the biggest, besides water, the number 2 most powerful poison is the frequencies that are inundating us, that are suppressing our immune systems. So when I first moved back to the US from the Dominican Republic, my body went into shock because I was living in the middle of a jungle, barefoot, totally different lifestyle.
Badass.
And I wasn't used to this many frequencies. So we can get used to, our bodies are amazing. We can accommodate to a certain point, but I didn't have time to do that. So, I swelled, I had pain all over. If I did an interview like this, I'd have to take a nap for 3 hours. I couldn't do it. A plane ride was just exhausting. I couldn't do it. I had rashes on my body. Sometimes my face would be beet red, palpitate, all kinds of things. So it wasn't until I found emfsol.com. I tried everybody's products, by the way. That was the only one that helped me because his products work on a different, in a different way. They don't block this is one of his products. This is not a watch. Don't ever use a smartwatch. Just burst it with a hammer. The subatomic chaos that happens from the frequencies because they are disrupting our DNA. They are disrupting how we vibrate. They're creating an unhealthy state of being. So with an unhealthy state of being, the communication network is like a ball of, spaghetti. It's just so all over the place. How can anything really function well? So this is a way to calm that down so then the body can communicate. Because again, you have to know that we are still, we are electrical beings too. You do have to use enough protection for you. He has to, use more and more as each year goes by. He tests it all the time. He lives by a 5G tower. When your calcium, the calcium ion channel is disrupted, you cannot detox the poison. The poison will become incredibly high in your body. Read online how to bring down the amount of EMF that you're getting exposed to, even if you don't use a product.
Yeah, that's super interesting because I've bought like $300, $400 little devices. They're like hologram stickers or hologram this. And I tested them and they didn't really work. Hopefully, obviously, if you're using it, you say it works, it sounds amazing. But the reason why I know so much about this,
none of those worked.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I actually created a bunch of products, like different hats and stuff. The key is silver lining. If you can wear silver line clothes, I have studies from India about how copper, silver, nickel's actually the best, but it oxidizes quick. So you want silver covered material. So do you agree that the calcium channels being overactive could cause things like schizophrenia, brain fog, or help or affect thinking?
Yeah. And also the poison, and you cannot tolerate much poison. You are any kind of symptom of poison you can have, right? Because your body cannot process it anymore. It's stuck in your body because of the inability of the calcium ion channel to keep up. So that's what I started realizing in some patients, that they had a problem with their calcium in their body. So just realize that that's definitely a real phenomenon going on. People need to realize that the study was done by a group in Michigan, Italy, and Russia, where they proved a specific frequency when directed at the human skin would, again, everything vibrates. Frequency, vibration, energy, right? So it vibrates the DNA, and the vibration is not harmonious, not good for life. And what happens is after a certain amount of vibration, your cells will have, it forms a corrupted message because it's disrupting communication. So a corrupted message is produced, making a corrupted protein. And guess what? That corrupted protein looks identical to the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So to me, a virus is only a corrupted code, which makes sense because a virus in a computer program is a corrupted code. And you can create the corrupted code because you've been poisoned or toxic, etc. But it doesn't mean it makes you sick. It just means you've taken in some bad communication, bad coding, or poisons or toxins. This is what was expressed. Or again, a bad code can be, injected into you, given to you in that way. And if you're a weakened body, let's say you don't have your firewalls up, your immune system, then that corrupted code can actually gain access into your body, and your body will accept it, and it doesn't know that it's a corrupted code and start making it. So really, we need to look at viruses just like they look at viruses on, our operating systems.
Yeah.
They're really the same thing, and that's why the big tech people are involved.
Bill Gates.
Yeah, exactly. So
he created Microsoft and then created viruses and then created antivirus.
Same thing, yeah. They're corrupting our codes in our body.
Right.
Yeah.
I know my husband is not vaccinating people and putting a microchip in her arm because that technology doesn't even exist, and he's never uttered the words out of his mouth.
So we, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
I think an epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths.
So just last thing on that, I actually, just for information for yourself, when I was doing my experiments with my products initially, I had one of my friends who was taking injections for migraines every night, literally giving herself shots because she couldn't wait for the medicine to kick in. So she had to take the shot so it kick in right away and get rid of the crazy migraine. I gave her one of these hats to try, which has the silver, it's 79%, the lining is 79% nylon, 21% silver. And I gave her this hat to try, and she literally stopped her injections. She could sleep. And she even took the hat off once and just laid on the hat. And I think like an antenna, it's absorbing all of the electromagnetic radiation. I don't know, but the studies are out there. So Bill Gates' Microsoft patent cryptocurrency system using body activity data, patent number WO 2020-06-06-06, that's real, describes using sensors and RF radiation frequency, microwave radiation in the human body to determine if they are doing a task or required of them to receive a payment in the form of cryptocurrency. It outlines many forms of sensors, both internal and external, not ruling out sensors created by the new nanotechnologies being utilized by doctors around the world. With this patent being created during the beginning of the pandemic, early 2020, and the economic collapse caused by the pandemic, combined with no one using his patent's technology yet, it seems as though he knew this was going to happen, especially with the powers controlling the world pushing for a new digital currency, which would make cryptocurrency very relevant. I've seen many doctors speak about the nanotech and super small technology they have found in these vaccines, including somebody who has put these vaccine contents near Wi-Fi and noticed what looked like biological circuitry form when looking underneath the microscope. Can you put in simple doctor terms, the way you would educate a patient in your clinic, how nanotechnology is even possible and why it's so hard to comprehend?
It is possible. I was introduced to it when I was in medical school by my microbiology professor, who actually worked for the military as well. And she worked on mycoplasma pneumonia, which she called the most evolved organism. It was around 1998 when I saw the photo of the electron microscopy picture. She said that, this evolved organism, which is actually a bioweapon, it's been declassified. It's weak because, anything man-made is weak. We should never fear anything man-made. It's not very hardy. It doesn't last really outside the host very long. What makes it pathogenic is the neurotoxin that piggybacks on it. And so when she showed us the picture, the whole class went in an uproar because what we saw looked apparent to us as a miniature robot on a cell. And so we didn't even have cell phones back then. So this is not in our realm of consciousness. And when she realized we knew what it was or something like that, she got very mad, told us to forget about it, don't ever talk about it, we wouldn't ever work again.
What has gone from the drawing board to the reality is this: the use of neural interfacing and physiological interfacing through the idea of remote-controlled small-scale systems to create a nanoswarm of biopenetrable materials that you cannot see, that can penetrate all but the most robust biochemical filters, that are able to integrate themselves through a variety of membranes, mucous membranes, and wherever, mouth, nose, ears, eyes, and they can be done in such a level that their presence is almost impossible to detect, and as such, the attribution becomes exceedingly difficult to demonstrate. The idea here is to put minimal-sized electrodes in a network within a brain through only minimal intervention to be able to read and write into the brain function in real time, remotely.
A group of scientists say we are closer than ever to creating technology which can merge with human biology in order to access the cloud in real time. Confused? Well, RT's Rachel Blevins is here and has all the details.
Can you imagine technology that is so advanced it could provide you with instant access to the world's knowledge and artificial intelligence as soon as you think of a specific topic? According to a group of scientists, neural nanorobotics may be developed to enable a safe, secure, instantaneous, real-time interface between the human brain and both biological and non-biological computing systems. This level of technology could include brain-to-brain interfaces, brain-to-computer interfaces, and specifically brain-to-cloud interfaces.
And so I can tell you that right now online, all those images are scrubbed, deleted, X'd out, marked out. You won't be able to find them again. But I saw the image of the first evidence of nanotechnology back then. And you know, it is real. In looking under the microscope myself at some of these vials about the superconducting material and what it can do, I've seen it with my own eyes. So it's real, even though we just don't know, we don't really understand how far advanced our technology is that's being hidden from us. DARPA, pretty much any sci-fi movie you've seen, probably there's some truth to it, because the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency has been doing things like that for a long time, but not telling us. So again, yes, these things are possible. I've seen things like this with my own eyes. You know, just know that this is happening. And so we just have to be aware of it and not comply with it now that you know that. And again, we have to know that this technology is outside of our human comprehension, and this is why one more reason we call on God.
Yep, no, absolutely, that makes sense. Some crazy stuff, crazy times. Technology is actually out there. It's just hard for people like to wrap their head around when they're working every day dealing with, you know, being cheated on and stuff. It's just hard to comprehend when you add that variable into their lives. Next quick question. I've been hearing legal advice from doctors saying that you can now sue your doctor for not properly informing you about the vaccine.
Yeah, well, safe and effective is a lie and violates our federal truth in advertising laws. The state of Kansas, their legislature took the ads off the media because they looked at the data and said, this is a lie, they're safe and effective. So at least one state in the United States has said, look, stop this. This false advertising. What can you do? Okay, can you sue these big pharma companies? No, they're protected by the CARES Act. But what you can do is you can sue your doctor for not giving you informed consent. If you are injured by a shot or you know somebody who's injured by a shot, you need to file a suit against a physician because nobody in the world got informed consent. They didn't tell you about antibody-dependent enhancement. They didn't tell you about the risks of myocarditis. You can't get a J&J under age 18 now because the federal government at least admits now that it is the clot shot that I called it over a year ago because J&J causes excess clotting. But you know what? Pfizer and Moderna, there are more reports in the VAERS system of clotting than there was for J&J. And yet they put a black box warning on J&J and not on Pfizer and Moderna. They cause clotting. They are known to cause myocarditis. If a physician is giving these and not saying, look, these can cause clotting, these can cause myocarditis, these can cause acute anaphylactic reactions and death because polyethylene glycol, they're not giving you informed consent. If they don't, like you go to the grocery store and read that box of whatever you're going to buy, you can read all the ingredients. Unless you can have a list of all those ingredients and all the adverse side effects, which are thousands, then they're not giving you informed consent. So what we need to start doing is holding physicians liable.
Being a doctor yourself, I'm sure you know how to avoid being sued or previously. Do you have any advice or suggestions on how to go about suing your doctor or for not providing accurate info at all, or in some cases coercion when they guilt you into taking the medical procedure?
I mean, the problem is, you know, you should make complaints, you can do the medical board, etc. The problem is that because it's an emergency use authorization, that's what they're hiding behind, although this is truly still illegal because this is a human rights violation. The problem is nobody is, what court is backing us up on the human rights? There is no court that's backing that up. And so this is where it comes down to the power of the people. Yes, we should make these complaints. Yes, we should do that. But I'm trying to get people to understand is you can't just sit in your home expecting someone else is going to do it, someone elected, some court, whatever. That's not going to work. But the people coming together absolutely will work. 100% it will work. You know, it's the doctors don't get paid if they don't do this. They have to be like me or some of my rare colleagues that just totally leave. You know, you have to give up your financial wealth. I mean, for most part, you know, I did just live frugally. But, you know, that's why doctors, you know, bow down to this. But, you know, this is why people have to take responsibility and accountability. What I'm trying to say is, yes, we should do this, but people are putting too much faith in the system that is already gone. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
well, putting faith in the system feels comfortable.
Yeah, it's not the same, guys. And we can make it right because it's the power of the people. If the government is not fulfilling its duties to serve us, which it's not, it's our duty. It says it's our duty to make the government anew. Not sit in our house, not keep trying the old way over and over again. So you just have to know that unless the doctor is willing to leave the old death cult, they are still going to have to bow down to what they tell them to do. And then in some circumstances, you know, it could get pretty ugly, like with me and other doctors where your lives are actually being threatened. So it's not as simple as people think. But, you know, the doctors, I don't let them off because they could at least be giving informed consent. You are correct about that. But look, a lot of them got duped. They got the shots too.
They're either getting paid or getting played.
Yeah. I mean, you know, going after people like I want retribution now. How much is that going to work, guys? I don't know. I mean, we have to start realizing that it's every single person's responsibility and accountability. Everybody. You gotta look at yourself too.
It would just be nice if everybody started suing their doctor who didn't properly inform them and who convinced them to.
Let me tell you this. Let's say it happens.
Well, it would be on the news.
And you don't have any doctors.
Hopefully.
You don't have any doctors.
Right.
What are you going to do then?
Well, I'm not saying get rid of the doctors. It's not like that. What I would be looking for as an end result is the news being like thousands of patients are suing their doctors for the COVID-19 vaccine. So that would make other doctors be like, maybe I should really think about what I'm saying to my patients. I'm not trying to get rid of them. I'm not trying to get their money.
There's an incredibly high suicide rate in doctors already.
Wow.
Going to quadruple that, right? It's not as simple as that. The system itself is completely broken, and it's a death cult. And the doctors have, if you're not a doctor, there's like nothing else you could do. No one's going to hire you, and people they don't know what to do.
Right.
And so they put you in that situation purposefully. Most people won't just take a chance like me. I had 8 suitcases, 2 dogs, and nothing. Just nothing.
Yeah.
Who tell me there are people that will be brave enough to do that? What if they have kids? So I mean, I'm gonna be their advocate too, because it's a bad, messy situation that we all need to be responsible for, and know that it's not as simple as it looks. And then also that, you know, many doctors have died over this, and they get threatened in other ways. So imagine that, and you have children.
Right.
So I have to say that we need to start having a heart and to see things from a bigger point of view and a system worldview, and then also saying, well, how can I make this better? How do I not support that system anymore? How do I start separating myself away? Because if you're going to just sue your doctor and you're still ordering from Amazon and Netflix, and you're still using the insurance company system, and you're still, you know, needing a big house, and you're still if you're still doing that, you're going to make it better. This is a hard thing, though. We have to look at ourselves and how we're contributing to it all, and that means we all have to be accountable and responsible and do something. I mean, every kid should be pulled out of the schools right now. If we just did that, the whole system would collapse.
Yep.
They would know the jig is up. If you're comfortable right now, you're doing the wrong thing. Every single person should be uncomfortable right now and doing things that make them uncomfortable, but they're the right thing to do.
Right.
Because this life is a blip in the existence of us. There is eternity, I promise you. I've had near-death experience, and so many other people. You don't want to have that experience to understand that there's eternity, but there is. And if you understood that, you would see the gravity of what is happening now, and you would see that these pressures and these traumas are happening for our benefit, to wake us up and to choose which way we will go. And it's either the metaverse, the death cult it's called, because meta means death in Hebrew, or it's choosing the way of eternal life. And that's through God and our eternal Savior. And I truly believe that with my whole being. And you can do little steps right now. You don't have to do any big steps, but it's understanding that every person is accountable. You can't just keep pointing fingers. We all have to take responsibility.
Right, I agree. I got 2 more quick questions. All right, you got your hands on a vaccine vial, and looking down a microscope, you saw a hydra-like shape, possibly a parasite. Can you describe your emotions from receiving the vial and being curious about what was in it to then finding the crazy organism? And did you have to keep it cold?
Yes, of course, until, examining it, then it was room temperature and letting it sit for many hours. You can't just look at it right away. You won't see much. And the white light evidently makes things more apparent too, because the white light hitting it could activate a color in a superconducting material. So that's by design. So then you see where it is. So you need time and white light and warmth. Okay. But the first time I saw it, of course, that was shocking to me. And in my mind, I said, you can't stay here. You're not going to stay. It's very definite. And then I thought, well, maybe that was a fluke. But then I saw another batch months later from the same, it was Moderna. And when I saw that, that's when I cried, because it's just evil. There's no other way around that. These aren't flukes. These aren't just contamination here and there. And then looking it up, that the transhumanists do like these organisms, but it just
Hail Hydra. That's so crazy.
A whole other level.
That's so crazy. Last question. CRISPR-Cas9. A new study just came out of Sweden showing the Pfizer vaccine is altering people's DNA. We still don't know the ingredients that are in the vaccine. Cas9 and CRISPR are gene editing tools that are used for editing DNA. It's my theory that the vaccine contains these ingredients. Do you agree? And do you know when they are going to release the ingredients of the vaccine?
I think, yes, I think there's some portion of a synthetic DNA and RNA in them, as well as the ability to be integrated into the human genome, and also perhaps some ability for translocation, maybe through the water parasites, and perhaps there's some CRISPR-Cas9. The problem is these vials are not uniform. They're different.
Right.
So, true pharmaceutical industry executive in-house this evening to help bring some clarity to this COVID craziness we've all endured for the past couple of years. Help explain to my audience exactly what howbad.info is and how it can be used.
Here we have different batch codes for Moderna, for Pfizer, including for the US and outside of US. And there is also a place, yes, and here there's a place on the page where you can type in the batch code that you have from the CDC card, and you can see the compilation of adverse event reports, ADRs, including deaths and disabilities and life-threatening illnesses.
What your findings are. As a clinical research organization, pharmaceutical executive, you know how to study these vaccines. And you have put together a document. You talked about the number of different findings you have with respect to the work and research you've done around the Pfizer vaccine. Let's start with the fact that Pfizer didn't actually do a complete, comprehensive end-to-end study of all of the components of their final approved product. What does that mean exactly?
As we started looking at VAERS, I became immediately alarmed by the high degree of variability in different batches, and I thought, well, this cannot be a well-controlled, well-tested product. My thinking got confirmed recently because, as you know, Pfizer is now releasing or forced to release documents that they wanted to keep secret for 75 years due to court order and FOIA requests. That were successful. Now they're releasing thousands and thousands of pages of documentation, including the packages that FDA supposedly used for approval, for the data that the FDA used for approval. So I got one such package. It contains what's called non-clinical testing. And this is everything. So as you know, the clinical trial process is very complex and typically very long. we have what's called preclinical testing, which is when the vaccine or drug product is tested on cell lines and animals before it goes into human clinical trials. And so, so here, this is a page from, for example, what I found. The first thing I found is that Pfizer was testing, preclinically was testing different versions of the product. And to me, that was immediately surprising, because it's not allowed according to FDA guidances, it's not allowed to test under the same investigational new drug application to test various versions of the product. So as I was suspicious already that they have different formulations, I now see clear evidence that they do in fact have different versions, which means different formulations.
We don't really know what's going on, but by frequency analysis that people have been doing, they have been picking up these synthetic RNA, DNA, and then in the people receiving them, they're sometimes picking them up as well. So I believe there's still some component in there. And again, we just need to know that just don't take any more. And our bodies have amazing ability to heal themselves, but I think this is when we know that we need to call on God as well.
Yep. No, I agree. If there's anything else you want to say, where can the people find you? How can they follow you?
On my webpage, it's my first and last name.com. So it's CarrieMadej.com, CarrieMadej.com.
Okay. And are you doing anything new coming up? Is there anything new going on in your life that you want to tell anybody about?
I still do some traveling and speaking. My leg is getting better, healing, and I'm working on a book. So it's sometimes that takes time, but hopefully that book will be ready in the middle of next year.
Well, thank you so much for your sacrifices, and keep fighting the good fight. And hopefully, maybe again we'll talk. And I hope you have an amazing day and you stay safe.
Yeah.
You can find our full interview at thedisclosurehub.com/doctor, and you can also find the links there to everything we discussed. I really put a lot of work into this so that you could see everything that what we're talking about is true. There's links and studies to back up everything that we were talking about. It's my biggest goal to wake people up, just to get people looking around, just to know that there's stuff going on they don't want us to know, and it's at this point that if we don't know it, we're gonna get damaged. I don't get paid for this, I do this out of love, so please check out thedisclosurehub.com, all of our content on Rumble, join Telegram because we post every day, mind-blowing stuff. Never waste your time. We want you to see what we see. All we're doing is looking around, not trying to convince you of any direction. Pick your own direction. Just look up and just understand that the one you're going in when you're not looking around is a blind one. We have tons of studies, aka rabbit holes. Please check them out, especially the studies on the 5G, 4G, 3G, the EMF, all the radiation on the whole spectrum. We explain it even better so that way you can understand it. Go to vtvault.org/quantame. You'll see the studies. You'll also see video testimonials and products that we offer that absolutely do work, that are there to help you. The profits do benefit us, so that way we are able to send out more information like this to other people to wake everybody up. So hopefully we're on the same page at some point. We can get this stuff to stop. Just make sure when you're buying EMF products that they have videos where they're using an EMF detector and they're showing you that it's diminishing the radiation. Use our information, use our studies, learn from it. It's free. Change your world, change yourself, and join us on the Disclosure Hub. This has been GK.
You are now listening to Anyway Well.